How is it going, everyone? We are coming up on the release of a Game Freak's action RPG that has gotten quite a lot of interest. I think the idea of Game Freak doing something so different than what they are known for has captivated a lot of people, but the game itself also looks absolutely awesome. I am talking about Beast of Reincarnation, and ahead of the game's release on August the 4th, I want to go over a lot of information that you should know about the game before you pick it up. We'll go over the standard edition, we'll go over the deluxe edition, we'll go over the PC system requirements, which certainly should be something you have your eyes on. I'm very curious about how this game is going to be optimized, but before we get into this video, I do want to note our friends over at Green Man Gaming do have the PC and Steam copy of this game discounted. For XP members, it's 20% off for $48. If you are not an XP member, use the promo code AUG15 for August 15. You'll save 15% off AUG15. Again, we leave the link in the description box below. Use that code and you'll be good to go. You'll save 15%. You'll get a Steam code on either edition of the game. I do want to note that if you buy a copy of Beast of Reincarnation from Green Man Gaming, you will receive your code immediately, and the preload is live right now. So you can go ahead, jump in and preload the game for yourself. So you'll be good to go on August the 3rd if you're playing it on Steam. It's going to be 6 p.m. Eastern time, I believe, is going to be the time that the game does officially unlock. So Steam keys being sent out over at Green Man Gaming, and you'll get the game cheaper as well. Link in the description box below on that. Go over the deluxe edition content, and we will go over the pre-order bonus at the end of this video. I also do want to know, for those of you buying the game on console, this game will have a complete on-disc release on PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series. Physical gaming, a big talking point these days, is going to be, one of the final physical games that does come out. And I feel like, Game Freak doing an action RPG, this might be one of those games you want in your collection. I'm just throwing that out there. But Beast of Reincarnation will have a physical release. Now let's talk about the game itself. Again, it's a brand new action RPG with a fusion of real-time and turn-based combat as well, and the combination of the two is one of the key integral gameplay components of the game. If you think this is a Souls-like action title, it is really not that whatsoever. There are so many mechanics that differentiate itself from a Souls-like. I think if you're just the kind of person that looks at a third-person action game and automatically assumes everything is a Souls-like, Beast of Reincarnation is not that whatsoever. The game centers around two characters, Emma and Ko, and Emma will be the action-oriented protagonist. You'll utilize the action portion of the gameplay with her, and then the command-based system will be utilizing Ko's special abilities. We'll dive deeper into the gameplay in a little bit, but the game's story is set in 4026 AD, the journey of Emma and Ko. The protagonists are Emma and Ko, and they meet in a land to the east. Emma was born afflicted by blight, which has granted her power to manipulate plants. Void of both memory and emotion, Emma is shunned and feared by those around her, living a life of total isolation. Ko, on the other hand, is what's known as a malefact, a creature that poses a dire threat to this world. Emma bears the burden of a sealer, a role that requires her to hunt these malefacts and absorb their blight into her own body. Now, if you can't put two and two together, that is one of the key elements of this game as far as acquiring new abilities and powers. The boss battles are going to be fought, and after you beat them, you will absorb their abilities and acquire new powers and abilities, particularly a lot of the powers tied to Q. Though their existences should be fundamentally incompatible, the wheels of fate begin to turn when Emma and Ko cross paths. Eventually, their journey takes them to the far west, where they must confront the Beast of Reincarnation, the source of all blight. In this world, the influence of the blight can cause the environment to shift abruptly, transforming the landscape into a dense, overgrown forest. These blighted forests are generated by the giant malefacts known as Nushi. Emma and Q must fight their way through these forests and malefacts to take down the Nushi to ultimately defeat the Beast of Reincarnation. Emma and Q have to absorb the Nushi's immense power and acquire their respective skills. The game structuring is more of open zones tied together. There is going to be quite a bit of content. We have heard that the game is around 30 to 40 hours long, so relatively lengthy for a game like this. And aesthetically, while it is this kind of post-apocalyptic game, it is incredibly colorful and incredibly vibrant. Visually, it looks great, and I think the sound direction is something that a lot of people will also be captivated by. We have heard some resemblances to a Nier Automata, and if you talk soundtracks in video games and you're comparing games to Nier Automata, that's probably the most complimentary thing that you can say. But if you watch some of the footage of Beast of Reincarnation in the trailers, that soundtrack and sound direction really does hold up. Now, the gameplay is the most interesting aspect of Beast of Reincarnation. First of all, this isn't a Souls-like game. There are so many different mechanics to the game, and on top of that, there are difficulty options to the game. There will be a story mode, there will be a normal mode, and there will be a more challenging hard mode. Now, the game's parrying system is a core component of the game. However, parrying is going to be more generous than, let's say, a Sekiro, and if you play on the easier difficulty option, that parrying window gets even more generous. But the parrying is absolutely a key component of the game, because parrying attacks actually charges up your focus meter. That focus meter maxing out will let you go into the command battle system and utilize abilities as Ku, and these go hand in hand. For example, Ku has a Roots ability that will bind the enemies on screen and it'll stun them for a while, thus then transitioning back into the action-oriented gameplay, and you can go to town on them. How each gameplay style complements each other is one of the core aspects of the game, but the parrying is absolutely at the heart of the game. They specifically note in this game you don't have to rely on law action skills alone to survive. By performing a parry against enemy attacks with Emma, you earn a point that can be used to unleash Ku's abilities. You can open Ku's command menu at any time, and Ku possesses a wide range of skills designed to handle a variety of combat situations. Whenever you're in a pinch, Ku is always there for you. While you are selecting Ku's skills from the menu, combat slows down, and this also not only acts as a moment to utilize Ku's abilities, but also as a breather. You can slow it down if it's getting too action heavy for you. Transitioning into Ku's combat abilities will actually slow the tempo down. You can take everything in and then take a moment to figure out what's the best course of action going forward in utilizing one of Ku's abilities. That there's going to be a variety of them, and it might be abilities like the javelin spear that'll do direct damage. It might be the Roots ability that'll bind enemies and give you even more room to plan out your attacks. Having those options adds a lot of variety to the gameplay, and it's up to you to experiment, mix and match, figure out what exactly you want to do. They also noted that they placed a high priority on this sense of tempo. Rather than forcing players to rely solely on split-second reflexes in a high-pressure situation, we wanted to create moments where you can pause, think carefully, and fight with the tactical mindset of a command-based RPG. Furthermore, the game features 3 difficulty settings in addition to the standard normal mode. We have included a highly challenging hard mode as well as a story mode. In story mode, the parry timing is more forgiving and enemy damage is reduced. To add even more depth, you could equip items called Spirit Stones. These stones grant various effects based on your actions during battle. You can also find new katanas for Emma and charms for Ku through exploration, each providing a unique specialized bonus. By combining these elements, players can build and customize their unique combat style. There's a ton of depth to this game from a combat standpoint. It's not just an action heavy game. If you really assess what's all available to you, you've got a myriad of weapons, you've got the command based system, you've got different difficulty options, you've got upgrades and abilities to develop as well, and there's a lot of nuance to this. For elements of traversal, you've got plant abilities for grappling and traversal throughout the world. A level of verticality will be there as well. But these bosses, while they are going to be bigger and more powerful than your regular enemies, there's going to be a large variety in terms of how you want to handle them. With all of the abilities that are available to Q, with the different abilities and weapons you're going to have at your disposal, ranged attacks and everything like that, you will figure out a way to defeat these bosses, and there's going to be a myriad of different ways. And bear in mind that you also have that option to slow down gameplay, so that tempo is going to be a little bit adjustable depending on how you want to play the game. And ultimately, when you defeat the boss, Emma will absorb their power, and that'll get new bloom arts for Ku as well. And then exploration and progression, you will also have the option for new techniques and upgrades. On top of that, the skill tree, you will be gaining SP, and then you can upgrade abilities and skills on top of that. And then there will be a bonfire-esque system in terms of where you can heal, upgrade, things of that nature. But it really does seem like quite a bit different from Souls-like game. I know everything has been labeled a Souls-like game, and the definition of what is a Souls-like game has gone so broad, but when you look at the difficulty option, there have been others, Souls-like games that have had difficulty options, but it's a plethora of things. Difficulty options, the traversal, and the command-based system, which the command-based system really is what sets it apart. And it looks like from a difficulty standpoint, they have reiterated that they want this game to be as accessible as possible. And if you're worried about the difficulty level, I think that should be something that you should be calling. I do want to highlight a couple more things before we round out the video. The game will be out August 4th. Like I said, it will be $59.99, $70 for the deluxe edition. Again, our friends at Green Man Gaming do have it a bit discounted, so check it out over there. Link in the description box below. The deluxe edition doesn't really include anything that I would say is worthwhile to spend the extra $10. You'll get a black Shiba skin, the Big Dipper, and Ani's hat, just customizable in-game items, and then pre-orders on either version of the game will get you the brown Shiva skin and 30,000 amber. So there you go with that. Like I said, there's a physical copy of the game being released as well. And I do want to highlight the system requirements, which definitely is something you should keep an eye on. I do not know how this game is going to do from a performance standpoint, because these system requirements aren't crazy, but here's what's interesting. So minimum requirements, you're looking at an Intel Core i5 8400 on AMD Ryzen 5 3600, 16 gigabytes of RAM in an NVIDIA GeForce GTX 1070 or AMD Radeon RX 580. Those are older graphics cards, not a big deal as far as that's concerned. However, they note that is for low settings 1080p at 40 frames per second with DLSS if you're on an RTX 20 to 50 series or FSR1. Again, low 1080p with DLSS, that's not going to be very pleasing on the eyes. Recommended, you're looking at an Intel Core i7 12700K or a Ryzen 7 5800 16 gigabytes of RAM, an RTX 3060 or an AMD Radeon RX 6700 XT, 12 gigabytes, 45 gigabytes of storage, and that's medium 1080p at 60 FPS with DLSS or FSR3. That is the glaring eye-opener. An RTX 3060 isn't a top-level GPU, but it's a mid-level GPU that is a quality graphics card. You're talking medium settings 1080p, upscale to 1080p with DLSS. You're talking upscale. So that is a big question mark. I really hope this game is optimized, but bear in mind that this is Game Freak's first big, real AAA action RPG. So I am really curious how this game is going to do. From a performance standpoint on PC, we shall see. But those system requirements, I wish there were more tiers. I wish we had more insight. But we're only a couple days removed from the release of the game, and we still don't have a lot more on that. But hopefully, by the time you guys are watching this or ahead of the release, we will get more insight on that. But that is going to do it for me. Again, I think Beast of Reincarnation is shaping up to be a great game, and hopefully it'll be something that not only are people interested in because it's Game Freak doing something different, but also because the game looks great, and I think it has the potential to really stand out. That'll do it for me. Let me know all of your thoughts in the comment section down below. As always, sound off there. Let me know all of your thoughts on Beast of Reincarnation and get the game a little bit cheaper.